Hello, welcome back to another video. I don't really know where I was going with that. I thought maybe, one of these days, maybe I should sing an entire video. What do you guys think? Anyway, what we're not talking about is singing. What we are talking about is MBTI and fantasy. Fantasy is one of my favorite genres. I really love the surreal. I really love magic. I love things that are just so unlike reality, and yet there are things that we can connect to reality. I live for that stuff. So I live for sci-fi and fantasy. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how certain character archetypes within fantasy actually match certain MBTI types. What I'm going to do is I'm going to relate these as much as I can so that you can kind of see how MBTI fits into these standard archetypes. What I'm not saying is that you can use these to type characters. This is not by any means a way to type characters. What this is, however, is a way to see, do the characters subvert the archetype? Are these characters the same type as the archetype, or are they a little bit different? It's just really a post-mortem analysis of the connection. It is not a presupposition that's going to help us determine a character's type. In actuality, it's probably less helpful for figuring out a character's type because it might confuse you and start making you try to fit them into the archetype mold. But I do think it's interesting, and I do see the connection because really MBTI tends to be quite archetypical. There are 16 generic archetypes of the personality types within MBTI, and in fantasy, there are character archetypes as well. So we're going to connect the fantasy archetypes with MBTI archetypes and just see where they mesh together. So let's just hop into it. To start with one of my favorite archetypes in fantasy, which is not super common, but it's that of the corrupted ruler. This is a ruler who was good and great and really cared about his people, but for some reason, or her people, but for some reason has become corrupted over time. When I think of this character, one of the main ones that comes up is the King of Rohan from Lord of the Rings. He was a great ruler. People really looked up to him. He led with great conviction. Something happened. He got worm tongue in his ear, convincing him to do bad things. He became, a corrupted ruler. And the redemption of such a character is one of my favorite things. I love it. It's not very common, but I love seeing it. So if you know of a story that's literally the main character is a corrupted ruler, I would be so down for that kind of story. Please let me read this kind of story. But alas, this most closely relates to the ESTJ personality in MBTI. ESTJs are leaders by nature. They want to be leaders because they have extroverted thinking as their main cognitive function. Extroverted thinking is about structure and rules and getting everybody on the same page. And then it uses introverted sensing to stick to what it knows and what their truths really are and what reality says we need to do. They aren't super visionary. They're not trying to change the status quo. They're actually trying to stick to and maintain the status quo. And that is why the ESTJ fits best with the corrupted ruler. Because when the corrupted ruler goes back to their natural path, that is the person that they are. I feel like I had to clarify that. Next, we have the loyal sidekick. Now this is incredibly common in fantasy stories. The loyal sidekick is this character, generally a knight. Because we're talking most fantasies are medieval, but the loyal sidekick is somebody who is so loyal to a fault. They do everything for the person that they follow, like think Brienne of Tarth, and they are masters of their craft. They spend years perfecting something that they can learn and know fully. Like knighthood. Knighthood is perfect for ISTJs because there is external structure for them, made for them, that they can then learn and uphold. And this fits most closely with the ISTJ personality type. ISTJs are very driven to want to be masters. They want to perfect their skill and repeat it and do it over and over and over again and just show their value by being good at what they're good at. And they use extroverted thinking not so much in a way that they want to control others, but they want to maintain their own life. They want to maintain their structure within their life. And if they can have an external structure that helps take a little pressure off that, so they can focus on the introverted sensing of becoming masters of their craft, they're going to do it. So knighthood is perfect, and the loyal sidekick is perfect for ISTJ. Let us next discuss the evil overlord. The evil overlord is this character who wants to take over the world. They want to own everyone in the world, get everyone doing what they want them to do. They want all the power. They want everyone to be under their control. And they often are quite visionary in the way that they go about this. They can kind of disregard morals and, other people just for the sake of their ultimate goal. They are very driven by being in charge of how things are done. This most closely fits with the ENTJ personality type. So like the ESTJ, the ENTJ also has extroverted thinking as their main cognitive function, creating the rules and boundaries for other people to uphold. And they do this excessively so. And because they have introverted intuition, that is seeing a vision for the future. What is the ultimate way to get where they want with their extroverted thinking? So they are very visionary. They want to take over the world. I mean, not always, but this is very much so the case for the evil overlord trope and the sort of archetype and stereotypes related to the ENTJ. Then we have the waiting evil. So the waiting evil is a more patient version of the evil overlord. They still tend to be quite evil, and they still tend to want to take over the world, but their methodology is much more slow and methodical, and they want to think it through, and they want to plan it through, and they want to have these grand schemes come to a final conclusion. And this is where you get those mustache twirling monologues where they're just like going on about how they planned everything and how everything is happening according to plan. And it's because of that in the moment monologue that they should have everything taken away from them, because they should have planned for what would happen if they had to have their, why do they have to have their monologue? Anyway, I digress. I feel like this fits most closely with the INTJ personality type in MBTI, because INTJs have lead introverted intuition. They want to get to the future goal. They see everything that's going on in reality, and they see where it's all leading, and they want to lead things towards their ultimate goal. And then they have extroverted thinking second, which means that they can create the structure, but they'd rather have other people do it. So the INTJs are much more likely to have a bunch of underlings who help make sure that their plot comes to fruition. Whereas the evil overlord, they just make people do it by sheer force. The INTJ, or the waiting evil, is more so building up that ultimate path, and they're gathering other people who can help make that happen. INTJ, the waiting evil. It makes sense. Let's go on. Next, we have there's a couple of these. You could say that this is like the mom or grandmother character, or I also think of this as like the barkeep's wife or the innkeep's wife. There's always this character, and I'm talking, this is in a lot of fantasy. This isn't just a couple fantasy. This is in a lot of fantasy. You have this kind of character who wants to talk about everyone, what everyone's doing, whether it's good or bad, and they're a little bit on the gossipy side. Like, let's be real, they're a little bit on the gossipy side. They don't really tend to have too much weight for the actual story, but they help give you the perspective of the story. They help give you perspective of the other characters. And their role in the fantasy stories tends to be pretty interesting, in my opinion, because they give that context. So what type most closely matches this mom or grandma or barkeep's wife, innkeeper's wife personality? Well, the ESFJ. The ESFJ actually leads with extroverted feeling, which is about the group morals. It's how everybody's feeling and getting along. So they are, although they don't mean to be, a little bit more gossipy, because they're trying to talk about everything that's going on and figure out a way to fix it and figure out a way to make it better so that it's better for everyone. And they use their introverted sensing, which is what has worked in the past. What do I know? What is reality? And they use that to better understand the world, which means that they're going to look at people in the world around them. They're going to make judgments about those people, and they're going to talk about that, which is very much so like the ESFJ personality type. Now, I'm not saying that all ESFJs are gossipy. Please don't take it that way. I'm just saying that ESFJs match the general archetype of this barkeeper's wife or innkeeper's wife or mother, grandmother, whatever kind of character. The one who gives you the gossip in the context, all right? That's the character we're talking about. Next, we have the love interest. The love interest in stories tend to be this character who is perfect by all means, right? She cooks, she cleans, she speaks to animals, she's beautiful, she's wonderful, she doesn't talk back, she's just this perfect trophy, kind of character. And these characters, although they could be more, and I've seen them where they are more, do a lot of times tend to come off flat. Well, I'm not saying that this personality is flat by any means, but this kind of plays to some of the stereotypes of the ISFJ personality. The ISFJs want to do stuff and perfect the craft, just like the ISTJs. They want to hone in and perfect their craft. They want to be able to do something over and over and over again and maintain regular results with the same thing. But they're also using, instead of extroverted thinking, they're using extroverted feeling, which means they want to make other people feel good. They want to make sure that people are placated. And so the ISFJs, they tend towards things like cooking, cleaning, maintaining the home, being housewives. And that really closely matches with the love interest's general way of being, this archetype of the love interest. I'm not saying it can't be subverted. It absolutely can be, but this is just the connection that I have found. Then we have the mentor. The mentor is almost everyone's favorite character in a story. Who doesn't love a good mentor, right? The mentor comes in, they give a bunch of advice to the main character, they build up the main character, they disappear at the last moment, they come back at a time when it's most needed, or they die right before the most important scene in the whole story so the main character has to grow. Anyway, I digress. Mentors are awesome, and mentors most closely with MBTI match the ENFJ personality type. So like the ESFJ who's gossiping because they want to help make other people better, the ENFJ also wants to help make other people better. And the way that they're going to go about this is they're going to use their introverted intuition. Where is this going? So rather than looking at different people and understanding their reality around them, they're saying, hey, this is their reality. Where is this going? Where is this leading? How can I direct the future? And so they tend to mentor other people because they see the potential in this other person and want to help manifest and bring that forward towards the future. And that's very much so the ENFJ personality type. Then we have on the other side of that, the psychic. This is personally a character archetype that I really like. I love when, the main character goes to a witch and the witch gives them this weird, crazy future telling that's very vague, and they tend to be a little maniacal, but then you see like this sliver where they're like really normal and then they hide that right again. They give you like that look in the eye that's like, I am 100% serious about this is what your future is, right, kind of thing. And I love that. And I think that that most closely matches with the INFJ personality type. INFJs are leading with that introverted intuition, which is, where is this heading towards? Where is this going? The future. And they use their extroverted feeling in order to help people, in order to give them what they need to hear, which is very similar to the mentor, but it's more focused on the introverted intuition. So if you kind of compare the difference between the evil overlord to the waiting evil, you can compare the mentor to the psychic. It's a similar sort of, they're very similar character types, except their focus is a little bit different. Next, we have a classic archetype within fantasy, and that is of the hero. The hero is a brazen character who goes face first into the thick of the fight. They have no holding back. They just want to fight for the cause and do what's right, and they will go for it at all costs. They are very bold and courageous. They might not always have the skill to back it up, but they are bold and they're courageous and they fight for what is right. And that matches most closely with the ESFP personality type. ESFPs lead with extroverted sensing, which is force. It is courage. I mean, it's not necessarily courage, but it comes off like courage because they want to go after things. They want to do what's right with their introverted feeling. The what they think is morally correct, and they use their extroverted sensing, their force, to make it happen. Then we have the chosen one trope. The chosen one is this character who is in the middle of a farm. They have nothing going on in their life. It's boring. They're doing the same thing every day. Someone comes in and is like, you know, I heard a prophecy and you kind of fit this prophecy. So like, let's see if you do have magical powers. Turns out you definitely have magical powers because you're the chosen one. And this prophecy that the psychic told us, that's you. So we're going to pull you out of your life and we're going to make you the chosen one. And the chosen one tends to be incredibly driven by their morals and what is right. They stick to what is right at all costs. I don't know why, but this is a very common trend amongst the chosen ones, is that they stick to what is the right thing to do. What do they believe? What do they care about? They stick to that at all costs. And then they use their extroverted sensing, like the ESFP, to make it happen. They're a little bit more action-oriented and very, very moral. And I think that fits with the ISFP. Juxtaposed to that is a very similar trope, which is of the orphan. Orphans tend to have a little bit more of the brooding coming with them. They think a lot on their past. They think on a lot about what has happened, and they can be very idealistic about what they want to happen, but they're a little less action-oriented because of the fact that they tend to get stuck in the past and worrying about the past, worrying about their parents who are dead. And yeah, I'm sorry, that's dark. That's real dark, but that's what an orphan is. I'm sorry. Orphanage is dark. They also tend to, like the chosen one, be very morally convicted on what is right and wrong, and they don't like to do anything that goes against their morals. And I think that this very much so closely fits with the INFP personality type. So the INFP, being an introvert, they lead with that introverted feeling, which is that moral conviction, that fortitude of what is right, what do I believe, and that is supplemented by actually extroverted intuition, which is what makes them more optimistic than even, say, the chosen one, because they see how the future could play out and they want to go towards that. But they do sometimes get caught up in their past. Then we have the bard. The bard tends to be a lot of times one of my favorite characters. They're really jovial. They're pretty clever and quick-witted, and they're not very violent. They're artists, right? They want to make music. So one of the great examples of a bard is Jaskier from The Witcher. Jaskier is using his music in order to help change people's perception of the guy that he's working for, the Witcher, partially because he wants to do good, he wants to help the Witcher, he wants to help someone that he cares about, but also because it gives him the ability to get more attention and more fame, which is what he wants, and he can be a little bit of a playboy. He doesn't really have long-term relationships. It's about the thrill, right? I think that this character archetype matches most closely with the ENFP MBTI type. So ENFPs lead with extroverted intuition, which is all about possibilities, and they tend to be real champions, kind of like Jaskier is for The Witcher. They want to build other people up, but they can also, because of their extroverted intuition, make connections between things and be very quick-witted, and they use their introverted feeling, which is their convictions, to follow through with those. And I think that bards, being musicians and being so quick to be able to make new songs and write these lyrics, I think that takes a little bit of the extroverted intuition. I think that bards fit very closely with the ENFP personality type. Now we're going to talk about a couple more of very, very favorite archetypes for me. We have that of the brooding assassin. Who doesn't love a good brooding assassin in their story? Like, tell me a story where there's a brooding assassin and he is not your favorite character, or she. You love the brooding assassins. There's something so endearing about that, right? But the fact of the matter is, assassins take... So here's the thing about being an assassin. There is a lot of variety in what you do, but it requires understanding how to use a specific tool. So for assassins, there's a few tools. They have to be stealthy. They have to use the weapons properly. They have to be able to trap people and get them alone. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. And this fits really well for the ISTP personality type. ISTPs lead with introverted thinking. How does it work? How do I break down this system? And how do I make it my own? And then extroverted sensing is, how do I make this a reality? How do I push this into reality? And I think that this very much closely matches the brooding assassin. That and many brooding assassins just tend to be ISTPs. I don't know, the two just fit together. Then similar to the brooding assassin is the Hitman. Now the Hitman is a little bit more in your face, right? The Hitman is a little bit more like, I don't care who you are, just pay me the money and I will take this person out. I'll do it in the middle of daylight. I do not care. Just pay me. I'll do it. They're more quickly able to switch sides than the brooding assassin. The brooding assassin is a little bit more on their own. They're a little bit more, I'm doing my thing and I will be able to turn down jobs if I need to. Whereas the Hitman, he will not turn down anything if money is involved. Like if he's getting paid, it doesn't matter which side is asking him to kill who, he's down for it. And so this most closely matches the ESTP personality type. ESTPs are known for having a little bit of a lack of moral conviction. They don't really care which side they're on. They're much more likely to switch sides and not really have a specific loyalty to a side. And if there is money involved and there is what they want, which is the money, they will do that, whatever, it doesn't matter to them. They also love being the center of attention, which is why they tend to be hitman rather than assassins, because they can kill somebody in the middle of the street and it doesn't matter. Okay, all right. So in a lot of fantasy, this character exists, all right? This character is like nerdy and obsessed with learning about the history of the magic. They tend to be wizards, or they tend to be the kind of person who experiments. They want to create a magical item or find it. Like this character, I swear to God, every time there is this nerdy magic obsessed guy who's really into learning about everything about the magic and the world and whatever, like they are the ultimate academics, right? They always either find or create some sort of magical item. They always find or create some kind of magical item. I swear that is just like their role. But anyway, I think that this archetype matches most closely with the INTP personality type. So INTPs, they lead with that introverted thinking. They want to understand and make sense of the world. They don't really have extroverted sensing though. So they want to figure out the world. They want to understand the world. They want to make sense of it. They want to make sense of the magic. They want to create new. They want to see what is possible. Finally, saving the best for last, right? We have the wild card. The wild card character could be anything. He could be a magical creature. He could be just there because he knows that he can get what he wants through this group and he will later leave. Like the Hitman, the wild card doesn't necessarily tend to have a specific side that they stick to. I mean, they can, but they're more likely to switch sides as well. Their ultimate thing is about the possibilities. There are so many different ways that the wild card character could manifest that you just cannot not make the connection of the wild card character to the ENTP personality type. So ENTPs have that extroverted intuition, the possibilities, the connections, all that. Then with the introverted thinking, putting it all together, piecing it all together, understanding, creating a framework. Now, this is, you might not say, hey, this is fully, this one, you're kind of pushing it. I'm not. Just believe me. I don't want to explain it. Okay, I'm bad at explaining. Just believe me. Just believe me, please. But with that, that is my character archetype to MBTI archetype video. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead, like and subscribe. Let me know what you agree or disagree with. And I just want to say, I hope that you have a beautiful, amazing, fantastic day. Bye!